Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking the absolutely dramatic story of how a 140-year-old global icon, a company that was pretty much the symbol of Japan's economic power, just fell apart.
So, how does that even happen? Well, to really get it, let's actually start at the end, with the shocking news that was really the final nail in the coffin for one of history's most famous brands.
For 74 years. Think about that. For 74 years, Toshiba was a titan on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. I mean, this was a rock-solid, blue-chip company. And then, in December 2023, it was delisted. It literally just vanished from the public market. An entire era. Just over.
But to really understand the scale of this collapse, we've got to go back, way back. We need to appreciate just how monumental Toshiba's rise to power really was.
So, the company's roots, they're actually pretty incredible. The whole thing starts with two of Japan's greatest inventors, guys who were literally nicknamed the Edison of Japan and the second Edison of Japan. One was a pioneer in telegraphs, the other in light bulbs. They merged their companies back in 1939, and by 1978, the powerhouse we all know as Toshiba was officially born.
Now you might be wondering, how did they grow so fast? Well, part of the secret sauce was this uniquely Japanese business model called the Keiretsu. Just imagine a tight-knit network of friendly companies, all owning little pieces of each other, all backed by a huge central bank. It created this amazing protective shield, right? It let them think long-term and just expand like crazy without worrying about hostile takeovers.
And boy, did they expand. Riding the wave of Japan's post-war economic miracle, Toshiba became an absolute engine of innovation. We're not just talking about products here, we are talking about inventions that literally shaped the 20th century. Japan's first digital computer? Toshiba. The world's first mass-market laptop? That was them. They were on top of the world. But you know how these stories often go. Right at the absolute peak of their power, when they seemed completely untouchable, the seeds of their destruction were already being sown. It came as a devastating 1-2 punch, one problem from deep inside the company and one catastrophic gamble on the outside. And this slide, it just lays it out perfectly. You've got these two massive crises hitting them at the same time. On one side, you have a complete moral failure, this rot from within. And on the other, you have a strategic failure of just epic proportions.
So let's dig into that accounting scandal, because this wasn't just some mistake or a rogue employee. No, this was systematic. It was baked into the culture coming from the top down. Executives would set these impossible profit goals, then managers, trapped in this culture of fear, were basically forced to cook the books for over 6 years. It was a pressure cooker of deception. So when the whole thing finally blew up in 2015, the final number was just mind-blowing. Investigations found that Toshiba had faked its profits by nearly $2 billion. And just like that, trust, the single most valuable asset any company has, was completely shattered.
And just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, it did. As the company was reeling from that internal crisis, a second, even bigger one was about to hit them like a freight train. It all started back in 2006 with a massive $5.4 billion bet on an American nuclear energy company called Westinghouse.
The timing of this bet was just brutally bad. I mean, look at this. 5 years after they bought the company, banking on a big nuclear comeback. Bam! The Fukushima disaster happens, and global opinion on nuclear power just tanks. Then, their projects in the US start spiraling out of control, running billions over budget. By 2017, Westinghouse was bankrupt, leaving Toshiba holding the bag for almost $10 billion in debt. The dream investment had become an absolute corporate nightmare.
So now, the company is on life support, basically drowning in debt. The board had to make this horrible, agonizing choice. To save what was left of the company, they had to start selling off the best parts of it, the crown jewels. And this was nothing short of a gut-wrenching fire sale of a legendary empire. Their world-class medical imaging unit? Gone. Their pioneering laptop division, the one that basically created the market, sold for a measly $36 million. But the real killer, the most painful one, was selling off their incredibly profitable memory chip business, the real heart of their tech innovation.
So after selling off everything that made them great, what was even left? Well, this is where the story actually takes a really interesting turn, and we get this powerful lesson in survival from a very unexpected place.
See, Toshiba's longtime partner in Egypt, the Al Arabi Group, they were smart. They saw the writing on the wall years earlier. While Toshiba was putting all its eggs in one basket, the disastrous nuclear basket, Al Arabi was diversifying. They partnered with other brands, and, this is the crucial part, they built their own brand as a backup. So when the Toshiba partnership finally collapsed, it wasn't a crisis for them. It was just the next step, an absolute masterclass in looking ahead.
As for the shell of Toshiba that was left, well, the end of its public life came pretty quickly. A Japanese investment group took the company private in a $14 billion deal, and that legendary 74-year run on the stock exchange came to a quiet, unceremonious end.
When you look back at the whole story, it's just this stark, powerful warning, isn't it? It shows how a single, disastrously timed bet, made even worse by a toxic internal culture of deceit, can completely wipe out over a century of success. I think the big takeaway here is that no company, no matter how iconic, is too big to fail, which leaves us with a really difficult question. I mean, if you were in charge, faced with a crisis of this magnitude, what would you do? Do you make the painful choice to sell your best parts just to guarantee you'll survive? Or do you risk everything on one last-ditch turnaround? It's a truly impossible choice at the heart of a corporate tragedy.